In the quiet moments before the world wakes up, there's a place where pain meets peace, where every breath feels like a prayer and grief stands still. We carry the weight of what was and search for meaning in the smallest things. And sometimes all it takes is one moment to remind us we're still here, still healing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I am the host of this podcast, and yes, we're your number one podcast for bringing you stories around death, dying, and grief, all the messiness that comes in between with some amazing people out here changing people's lives, one heartbeat at a time. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, head on over to that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And maybe you know someone who can benefit from the conversations that we have, share this along with them, as our mission is to reach more people to help normalize the conversations that we have around it so you don't feel so alone when you need somebody to talk to. Now, without further ado, guys, help me welcome my next guest, Allan Fakhri, to the show. Allan, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you, Tony?
I am doing well. I am doing well. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man. So before we get started, man, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience. So tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
So my name is Allan Fakhri, and I am the owner of Frontline Safety and Compliance LLC. I'm based out of here in San Antonio, Texas, where it's nice and hot right now. Not
Mm,
sure how it is in your end, but I am in the business of trying to keep everybody safe, making sure everybody goes home the same way they came to work, and
mhm.
helping businesses comply with OSHA regulations and any other regulatory body that um, is well, consistent with what they do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the work that you do. That's really important. I think that's part of the aspect that a lot of people look past, right? Or they try to skate by, right? I used to do construction, so I could. And we be rigging stuff up, and we don't follow no rules whatsoever. I don't know how it is now, but I do remember back in the early '90s, late '90s, we was rebels without a cause. Let's just
Yeah,
put it that way.
absolutely. And I could tell you, Tony, it's gotten, again, I don't know how long you're talking about, but it has gotten better just in the 15 plus years that I've been doing it, but it's still
Okay.
not where it should be.
Yeah. Now, how did you get into this? What was your aha moment that said, you know what, I need to focus more on this right here?
So honestly, I started, right out of high school, joined the military, joined Army infantry. Um, Obviously, when you get out of the military, you try to find something consistent with what you were doing. That
Hmm.
wasn't really the case for me because there wasn't a lot of options coming from the infantry side of the military, unless I wanted to be a police officer, correction officer, anything along those lines, which there's nothing wrong with that. Um, but I got into the oil and gas industry, started off, and then had a very unexpected opportunity to get into the safety side.
Hmm.
And from day one, I fell in love with it. And I progressed from doing site safety to training to safety management to director of safety. So overall, I've progressed in my career. And the more I progressed, the more I found how important my job is. And I fell in love with the contributions that I make to an individual employee to the company itself.
I like that. I like that. I want to touch on something that you said though. Um, coming from infantry, you said that, when you came back to trying to find something to get into. Now, and I also agree. I don't disagree with being a cop or being in some sort of service branch and things like that is a bad idea. Now, what I do see the challenge is, and I could be wrong with this, a lot of individuals that come back from cross seas that have been in war and things like that, you put them in stressful situations like being a police officer and things like that can trigger, the PTSD or and something like that. And then we have a ticking time bomb on the streets and things like, So I don't know. I mean, because I have uncles and aunts who have been in the military, right? And maybe it was just them, but they could not turn it off.
Yeah.
They could not turn it off, which makes them very dangerous because you have a trained killing machine.
Well, and I do agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And it wasn't just that challenge, and it's not just with police officers and things like that. I mean, it's anybody that comes out of that and goes into the civilian
Right,
workforce,
right.
right? But also, one of my biggest challenges, not so much that end of it, which that is a struggle, and even today, PTSD, things like that, it's a struggle. Um,
Hmm.
but the way you lead in the military is a lot different than when you lead in the civilian world, because there's a lot of
Right.
things a leader can get away with saying and doing, especially when we're talking about infantry where it's all men, things like that, or at least it was when I was in. uh,
Hmm.
you can't say and do those things in the civilian world, especially with not just with the men, but especially now you're talking about women being in the workplace, which I wasn't used to that either. So again, there were just a lot of challenges coming out of that and trying to figure out, on top of that, what I wanted to do and what was a good fit for me at that point as well.
Definitely understand that. Now, getting into an entrepreneur mindset, what were some of the challenges that you had to take on and yet work through to become who you are today, right? Um, yeah, we talked about this one time before, like that struggle. I mean, there's so many things that people never really pay attention to, right? That sneak up on you, like imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Self-talk, your mindset, things that you have to be willing to sacrifice in order to build upon, right? Let's talk about that journey for a little bit. What was it like for you?
So I'll even start with the military. I mean, even with the military, when I was in the military, it was a big decision to get out. I did just under 10 years. Of course, when I first went in, I thought I'm going to retire. I'm going to do 20 years. I'm a career soldier. After so many times, it just got to the point where I was like, I just need to get out of this. My body's getting beat up. There's got to be more to life. And, not that very grateful for my time in the military, grateful for what it did for me, because I think I took a lot of things from there that I carry on today.
Hmm.
Um, but I love that security. I love that security of having the military and knowing that I'm going to get paid every day. I'm going to get fed every day. Whatever the case is, they're going to take care of me. And then when I got
Hmm.
into the civilian world, I found a job, had that security. And again, so for me, the biggest challenge was leaving a guaranteed salary to not having a salary and or inconsistent salary, and building that. For the longest time, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, to the point of where I thought about pressure washing. I thought about picking up, not even funny, picking up dog poop. Think of anything I could do to call it my own is
Hmm.
what I wanted to do. And I'm thinking, I sat there one day thinking, why am I don't know anything about any of these darn things. Why am I doing that when I could be doing this? But again, the reason I never did was because I had that fear.
Hmm.
Well, I got laid off in June, and I got to tell you, Tony, it was the best thing that could happen to me, because I would not be in this journey today if I did not get laid off. And for getting laid off, I am so grateful for that. And it has made me grind to get where I am. And every day, it's still a struggle. Every day, I wake up and I take a shower. And while I'm in the shower, I think, are you doing the right thing? Is this the right thing? Or should you go get a job now? And as soon as those thoughts come in, I push them out and I keep driving.
Yeah. Well, you got a powerhouse in your corner too, right? You
I
know what I'm saying?
do.
Yeah, Dr. Rob Kelly, man. That's my brother. Big shout out to Rob Kelly too, man.
Absolutely. Just saw him today. And again, I mean, you and I talked about this. I would not be in that headspace today. I would have quit. And I told him
Yeah.
this first week, I would have quit and said, nope, there's no way I can do this. I'm out of my league. And that is not the case. I'm just as good, if not better, than anybody else doing what I'm doing today.
There you go. Yeah. And it's an honor and pleasure to know Rob. He's a brother of mine, And and I watch the way that he does things. And I see the businesses that he started, and I hear the message that he preaches, that he gives to other people as well, right? And he's a no nonsense type of individual. He's going to tell you exactly how it is. And he's not going to let up on you neither. He's like, no, you don't understand. Your success is my success, right? But I need you to get out of the headspace that you're in order to get you where I need you to be. And I love that for him. I love that he does that, right? It,
Absolutely.
what's your experiences with this? Especially developing the mindset of being an entrepreneur, right? I guess I got a two-part question. And what are some of the most unexpected things um, that has happened to you, that you wish that you would have known before you started this journey?
Well, I'll answer that right off the bat because what I'm finding, and I'm finding this more and more, it wasn't very evident the first week, wasn't evident maybe the second week, but I'm about 10 weeks in, give or take. But even just, with Dr. Rob, even yourself and some of the other people that I've talked to, there is such a community and there's such a, I'll just call it like a level of brotherhood of where so many people want to help you succeed, and,
Hmm.
and it's creating that village. And I never knew that existed. I never knew that was such a thing. And it's, I have a village now of people that want to see me succeed and are helping me um, to succeed with their time or whatever the case is, doing this podcast, things of that nature.
Give me 1 second.
When you're done, before you leave, I wanted to ask.
Okay. Give me about 45 minutes. All right. Yeah, sorry about that. I had
No
somebody coming
worries.
to my door. Yeah, I definitely agree, right? And I look at everyone, and I go, man, I wish I knew a lot of these things when I started on this journey of becoming an entrepreneur. Because for one, I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was, right? No one ever said, I seen people start businesses, and I knew I wanted to be a part of that right there, right? And I just
Absolutely.
thought that, I just thought they just woke up and was like, this is what I'm going to do, right? And so, when you see things like that, you kind of compare to some of the things that you've seen. I've seen the good and I've seen the bad. I've seen the drug dealers, I've seen the business owners, I've seen the janitors, and I've also sat down with the CEOs, right? And
Absolutely.
I've been in multi-million dollar meetings with people, with CEOs that will blow your mind, right? That are on the verge of becoming billionaires and things like that, and the people coming out of them. And I've had to sit down and tell myself, man, do I really belong in here with these individuals?
Absolutely. And
Right?
that's, yep. And that's one of the things,
Man.
even just last night, I went to a Chamber of Commerce event here in San Antonio. And
Hmm.
same thing, I walked in the door. And again, my initial subconscious kicks in. And was like, you don't belong here. You're out of your league.
Yeah.
And, as I found out, I wasn't. I had two people call me today that I met yesterday that want to sit down and have a meeting with me next week. So, I mean, it's that for me was just, you are doing the right thing. You are good enough and you can do this.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing I did forget to mention, and I'll get in trouble if I don't. But one of the big, I think you know where I'm going with this.
I already know.
Yeah, the biggest support I have is my family, and honest to goodness, I could not do this without my wife, Christy, without my son, Ian. I mean, they are my biggest support system. My wife has even taken on, extra shifts on the weekend as a nurse just to help me, so I don't have to worry about bringing in extra money. I can solely focus on what I'm doing, and that is
Hmm.
just that's such a blessing to have. And I can't, again, without them, I could not do this.
No, I definitely understand that to a certain extent, right?
Right.
Because I'm one of those guys that didn't have anybody, right, when I first started this, because all
Right.
my family is gone, right? And so, there's the other side of it as well, and it's like when I heard like that, I'm like, man, that's the best feeling in the world, to know that somebody's in your corner, you know,
Yes.
um, because that's the true team. That's the true team. And I think we as human beings need that, especially when we figure out what it is that we want to do in this world, right? You know, and you because it can be a very lonely, treacherous road going down that thing, and when I first started, I used to be like, I had friends, um, and this is something that I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know I was going to lose all my friends because they thought I was crazy, or they thought that, or they was the ones who would always tell me that you're not going to be successful. They were the ones that was telling me, "Oh, you just got way too many things going on." But I knew in my heart of hearts that I was doing the right thing. And but I couldn't explain it because in the beginning it looks like a mess, right? Because at that time I didn't know Rob Kelly, right? I didn't
Yes.
know a lot of the people that I knew, right? I didn't even know that there was people that made the sort of decisions, that I'm now making, right? You know, and it was a certain truth. Um, someone told me like in the beginning stages of this, and the way it started off, me and this guy, I had a meeting with him, and the meeting went good. The meeting went really good. And he turns around, he looks at me, and he goes, um, be prepared to lose all your friends. Now, this is a CEO that's telling me this on the side. He goes, prepare to lose all your friends. I go, what do you mean? He goes, the people that are in your corner. If no one's told you this, and it seems like no one's told you this yet, prepare to lose all your friends. Prepare to lose your mind, right? Because you're going to think that you're crazy. He goes, but I'm telling you that you're not. You're onto something good. And right now it's just it's too new for me to make a decision, on the direction that I want to go in with you. He goes, but if you keep on this path, come back to me, right? Come back to me, and we'll sit down. And it'll be a totally different conversation. That was the realest stuff I've ever heard, man.
Yeah. That was the first conversation I had with Dr. Rob, the very first meeting I had with him. One of the first things he said to me was, um, anyone that doubts you, anyone that tells you, doesn't matter who they are in your life, anyone that tells you you're not doing the right thing, you're crazy for doing this, you
Get
need
rid
to
of
go
them.
get a job, get rid of them.
Get rid
Very
of them.
first thing he said to me, if they're not in your corner, it takes, that was another thing that he had taught me, was it takes one can't change nine, but nine can change one.
Hmm.
And that was very powerful to hear that. So to have nine people in my corner that support me, that's who I want to have, not the nine people that are not, because I'm not going to be able to change their mindset, but their mindset,
Yeah.
if I stay with them, is going to change me.
Yeah, and yeah, as crazy as it is, um, it's it's a hard truth. It's definitely a hard truth, right? And I don't think a lot of people are prepared for that road. And I think from the sheer work that it would take for you to go 5 steps, because within that 5 steps you're coming back for 4 to 6, right? It's going to seem like a never ending thing because you don't see the little small pieces that are building up over there. And you're absolutely right. Like I said, like we were just talking about, get rid of those people. The biggest challenge is, and I could be wrong when I say this, the biggest challenge is that you have such a attachment to these individuals that you often think to yourself that they're not going to they're not going to mistreat you. They're going to support you every step of the way. And the reality of it is that if you think that way, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. And it seems like it's a very heartless thing to say, because there's a lot of selfishness that comes along with that. And people don't understand that you have to protect what's inside of you, right? You have to
Absolutely.
protect the mission and the vision. Now, I could be wrong, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm still a pup in this thing. I still got milk behind my ears, man. Come
Yep.
on now.
Me and
You
you both.
So it's one of those things I look at and I go, man, and watching these people leave, talk bad about me, but also watching them come back around to see where I am today and go, oh man, I knew you was
I
going to
knew
do
you were
it.
going to, yep.
Yeah, and I look at them and go, no, you didn't, because remember in the beginning I was like this, and then you told me this. Oh, you still holding on to that? Why, yes, I am. Well,
Yep.
and I could be wrong.
Nope.
Could be wrong. You know. So let's talk about the process because I want to get into the meat and potatoes of it, right? Um, the things that you had to experience, the sacrifices that you had to make, the grief that you had to endure, but the blessing that came along with that once you begin to get your foot in the ground, because everything starts from a baby, to the infant, to the toddler, and things like that, and watching things grow. But no one ever talks about the mental turmoil that it takes on you, right? The physical or the psychological games that it will play on you along the way. And so let's talk about some of that right there.
So I'll tell you right from the get-go, it was a huge punch in the gut to get laid off. Number one, I mean, I was with this company 7 years, but unfortunately, it was a business decision. Oil and gas prices dropped, and it just, um, I'm not mad at them. It is what it is. It's business, and I completely understand,
Mhm.
what they did. So you take that, and then so I already have that weighing on me. And then again, all that self doubt starts circulating. Well, if I couldn't keep this job, how am I going to be able to do this on my own? What am I doing?
Mhm.
Um, and then fast forward maybe about 2 or 3 weeks, it felt like I started to get a little bit of momentum, started to get some things going, was having conversations with the customer about coming and doing their work, was getting ready to buy a trailer, had the trailer lined up to where all I had to do was go pick it up. And I was going to pick it up on that Saturday, I believe. And on
Mhm.
Friday afternoon, my truck burned to the ground due to a fuel leak. So I'm sitting there watching my truck go up in flames, and I'm sitting here thinking, this has got to be a sign. Somebody is telling you that this is just not meant to be. So with losing my
Wow.
job 2 weeks later, my truck's burning down. I'm just like, what? I can't take much more of this. If there's one more thing, I don't know what's going to happen. So for me, that was a big struggle. For me, that was, and again, very started questioning very heavily, what are you doing? You maybe we should just put this on hold for a little bit and move forward.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't. Was able to get myself out of that headspace. It was hard. Talked to Dr. Rob, talked to my wife multiple times, and 4 days later, I had another vehicle. 3 days after that, I had a new trailer, and I kept pushing.
I like that. I like that right there. Because for me, when I first started this journey, or the first few times I attempted this journey, I've had setback after setback, and you get hit 3, 4 times. A lot of times you just, like for me, I was like, okay, you know what? I'll go dig ditches, right? In 100-degree heat. I'll go dig ditches, or I'll go and pour concrete or tamper down. And I've done all of these jobs before, right?
Right.
I've done asphalt, I've done concrete, I've busted up rocks. I've done everything in construction I've done, right? But it was always like no one would ever give me the position that I rightfully deserve, right? If I deserve to be in leadership position, I people would look at me and they would see me coming and they would go, if you gave that kid a leadership position, he's coming after your spot too.
Yeah.
So and I was- and so they would always deny me. They would keep me where I need. They would keep me where it was safe for them, right? And because they never thought that I would have the courage to sit back and go, you know what? No, that's the reason why I started my own thing. I was like, because if you're not going to give it to me, then I might as well create a spot, create a space where I can have that position and prove to you or show you why I was or let you show me why I was such a threat to you,
Yeah.
right? And it's been proven, and it's been showing. Everybody's like, man, we knew you was going to do it, and all of these different things, and now that I'm doing it, they're like, so what can we do to help? Stay out of my way.
Yeah.
Just all I need you to do is just stay out of my way. I don't need you to do nothing else.
And I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that because I actually had a conversation with Dr. Rob today. But there, again, I talk about the village. I talk about the people that have been there for me, for me. from day one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I am going to do, and I even told Dr. Rob that, when I get to the point to where I'm licensed to do certain things, it's on the house. He's never going to have to pay for it, because I want to be able to get back to those individuals that were there for me, that gave me, whether it was a price concession or gave me their time, their
Mm-hmm.
resources, whatever it is, helping me out. I mean, that doesn't go unnoticed for me. And I want to do everything I can to reward them within my power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you got, again, knowing a lot of people that I know that have the businesses that they do, I could say the balance between those that don't care, um, and with those that do, there's a landslide if you know where you're looking at, right? Because those that don't care nothing about you, those that just trying to sell you a program or something like that, you know the ones we're talking about, right? And no,
Absolutely.
no offense, I don't criticize anybody for that hustle, right? You know what I'm
Nope,
saying? If it
that's it.
works for you, it works for you. But I do realize there's the differences, right? Those that genuinely care for you will make sure that they're always truthful with you, right? Regardless if you want to hear it or not, right?
Yes.
And they're going to be the ones that's pushing you. The ones that don't care for you, oh yeah, just take this, and then you don't hear from them for 6 months to a year or something like that. But you've already paid the money, and the program that they have is a cookie cutter program, right?
And
At best, at
oh
best,
yeah, no, and I've learned those lessons too.
yeah. So now, I guess my question would be, you know, when you embarked on this journey, did did the impact of what was going on with you affect your family as well? Like, did you have to sit them down and go, "This is what I'm doing"? Because it takes a long time to get that teamwork, or was it naturally? Because I know kids, when they see parents going through this, right? It can get pretty confusing because there's a lot of tension going around. There's a lot of worrying about what's going to happen and things like that. So was it the same for you?
So it was, again, when I first got laid off, I sat down with my son and my wife. My wife already knew, but then I sat down with my son and said, "Look, here's what's going on. Nothing for you to worry about. Nothing, none of this is going to impact you. We're not losing the house. We're not going to miss meals. Nothing changes as far as you're concerned. You still get up, go to school, do what you do, go to the gym, whatever you want to do. Nothing changes. Keep living as normal." Um, but again, yeah, there's, for me, and that's one of the things I have to get in check. Again, we talk about the PTSD, we talk about the anxiety and everything else. I still work on doing the work to keep all that in check, because it is a stressful time. But
Yeah.
again, it's up to me to control that, and also to control the narrative.
Mm,
And that's
okay.
what I'm working on. And again, I'm not bringing in the money I want to bring in right now, not even close. Um, but I know I'm going to get there, because I am taking these small steps, and I'm seeing the fruits of my labor. The tree
Mm,
hasn't
okay.
grown yet, but I'm starting to see little glimpses of this is coming.
Yeah.
And that, again, and every time I see that little glimpse, it motivates me even more and more. But yes, I still have those days, and there were, especially in the beginning, there was tension, because again, got laid off, had a very good salary. Bills don't stop. The salary may stop, the bills don't
Yeah.
stop.
Most deaf.
So, but again, having that support system, having my wife saying, "Hey, you know what? You've taken care of us for X amount of years. You've done your part. Let me do mine now." And again, I can't
Mm,
speak enough for that, knowing that, she's going to do her part to keep us covered until I get this going.
yeah. See, and I love that, right? Because again, I was one of those people that didn't have that. I didn't have those words of encouragement. You know, I had so many people stab me in my back. That was there in my face, going, "Oh yeah, Tony, everything is good," and this, that, and another. And behind my back, they were good at what they did.
Oh
I was
yeah,
pretty impressed. I was pretty impressed. You ever have some? I want to ask this. This is a crazy question.
yeah.
But did you ever have anybody do something to you to where it impressed you to a point to where you're like, huh, touche.
I'm
And you
sure I
couldn't.
have. Yep.
well, and the reason why I asked that, right? Because everybody, we all have that one story about that person or those individuals. I remember when I first right during COVID 2020, early stages of COVID, right? Right during the lockdown, when I decided I was going, this is what I was going to do, right? I said, this is what I'm going to do, but but it wouldn't be me. I was like, I need an office space. Then COVID hit, and I was like, oh, so, but I still knew that this is what I wanted to do. So it didn't
Right.
really stop me, and I got lucky, and I found a place, and they rented out an office to me, and I said, you know what? And this was my thinking, Alan. I said, you know what? I don't want to do mental health. I don't want to do even though I'm certified in these things. I just want to do grief work. That's all I want, and I want to work with men in grief. That's all I want to. I don't want to do mental health. I don't want to do recovery. I don't want to do suicide prevention. I don't want. I just want to stick with grief. So I brought in these people, right? I brought in these people, and I would tell you, for the first 6 months, helping them build their organizations was fine because it was all coming out of my pocket. But soon as Tony said, you know what? I think I need to take a step back and let you guys do what you need to do so I can go focus on my thing. Man, you would have thought that somebody let Leviathan out of the depths of the ocean, right? I was, they, they were, man. And I was being real nice. I said, no, you don't understand. We can still use the office space and everything. I just need to focus on what I need to do. And man, they did me wrong. They cussed me out. They talked bad about me. Did all kinds of things. But the one that got me, was the one that said, "Oh, you're not going to help me anymore. I'm going to go spread some rumors to the people that you rent your office space out from." So not only did she go and do this, but she got them to kick me out of the office space.
Oh
That
wow.
I was like, what happened? I didn't even do anything. And she did. She looked at me and was like, I told you I was going to get you. I was like, ooh, touche, touche, touche. Yeah, and then she got to stay there. So I was like, ooh, even better. So and that's what I mean. Like, you ever somebody does something so crazy that you sit back and go, that was impressive. I got nothing else. I got nothing else, right? Like, that was impressive. Even though the damage that they did to you was crazy, right? Because
Yep.
the damage that they did, because after I left there, I was like, now what am I supposed to do? I got to go virtual. So I got to change everything from what I was doing to a virtual thing. And I pretty much had to start all over, right? And I
Yeah.
had to do that for some years. And I was just like, and I still think about it going, I don't think I could have planned that better than what they did it.
Yep.
How? So I got funny stories like that, man.
Oh, I'm
I got
sure.
funny. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you got some too, right? Got some where you just sit back and go, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure if I thought hard enough, I could think of one.
Oh man, I laugh about it now. Really do because we talking about it, right? And we may laugh about it because these are real things that people experience, especially during entrepreneurship. Now I want to talk about something a little bit more uh um a little bit more serious, right? Because I think as an entrepreneur, from one entrepreneur to another entrepreneur, we watch different people, probably watch the news too, right? One of the things that I do notice is that the rate of entrepreneurs um, unaliving themselves. It's been an alarming rate for that, and I could never figure out why. Right? I know imposter syndrome is part of it. The amount of failures that you're going to go through before you even get your first little success, and it may not even be anything big. It just may be, hey, you made a connection today or something like that, right? Um, when it comes down to an entrepreneur, Why do you think most entrepreneurs or some entrepreneurs get into the headset and can't get out of it?
I'd have to say one of the first thing that comes to my mind because I think about my situation is the support system. Because again,
Mm,
I can't say that I'd be at that point to where I would take that step, but I definitely would have been at that point where I would have quit if I didn't have the support. But it depends on also the circumstances, how far they got themselves in. Again, I don't know the circumstances of that, but for me, I have to think that the support is the biggest thing. I mean that's just my perspective. If they had, and maybe they did, I'm not sure, but if they had a support system where they said, "Hey, look, I'm struggling," for like me, if I know I ever got in that mindset, I could think of three people right off the bat that I could go to immediately.
mm,
And again, not just talking about support for them building their business, but just support in general as a human. Whether it's a wife, whether it's a friend, whether it's Dr. Rob or someone like that. It's who can you
yeah.
go to, and can you go to somebody? So for me, that's the biggest thing is, and even when, being a safety director or working for any company doing safety, or even now if I do consulting, and I did a video on this the other day on TikTok, there is a huge, huge connection between mental health and working safely. Because if you're
Hmm.
not in that right headspace and you're on a construction site and you're going through a divorce, you're having money issues, doesn't matter what it is, you're in a negative mindset and you're having those emotional struggles, it's just a matter of time before something bad happens, before you have an accident, you hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. um, but again, just having that mindset, go talk to somebody. I'm a firm
Yeah.
believer of that. I mean, you got to know that somebody's in your corner, that you can go and speak to about these issues. Hey, I'm at my lowest point right now. I need help. And I guess that goes back to, we're, especially for men, that's not easy.
No.
So I guess there is that as well, but it's not easy asking for help and getting help. And, you know,
But
so I
I
think,
think that, no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, I think that's a lot of it too. Either not having the help or not knowing how to ask for it.
I think that's, both of those you're dead on, right? Because when it does come down to people asking for help, depending on the scars that they carry from their lifestyle, will be how they move according to what they're going through, right?
Right.
And a lot of times because they think that people won't understand, right? They think that you may criticize them or talk bad about them because of these things, because not everybody understands their journey. Not
Yep.
everybody's going to clap for you when you're going through this. Not everybody's going to do that. And I try to explain this to people, and they're like, "Well, I would have did it." Yeah, just because you did this for somebody doesn't mean that they're going to do it for you, right?
Yep.
And For those individuals, because when I was doing this, when I first started this, that was one of the hardest lessons I learned, that we are struggling with our mental health as we're going through this because of the things that we're taking on. And Unfortunately, I lost some pretty good friends along the way.
Yeah.
I lost some really good friends along the way. As a matter of fact, I've been knowing Rob Kelly a couple of years now, and I met Rob. I had him on my very first ever podcast,
Oh, wow.
and then he came back on for this podcast, and then he came back again, and now he and I just go back and forth, and things like that. Yeah, and I remember telling Rob. Well, actually, I didn't tell Rob what had happened because um, I had lost a friend. I did the podcast with Rob 3 days after I lost a friend of mine, right? And he left a note. He said he couldn't do it anymore. Like if he couldn't build the life that he wanted, he wasn't going to go back to living the life that he was already living. Like he made up his mind and said, I would rather be gone than to go back to that, because I knew him. I met this gentleman when I was homeless, right? and I tried to start my own company, and I failed so many times. So I went back into working a 9 to 5. My buddy looked at me, he goes, "Man, I can't do it. I can't like to go out here and portray these skills and things like that and only get paid this." He goes, "I can't do it." I said, "Well, I have to do what I have to do. I'm hungry. I'm hungry." And he goes, "Well, I have to keep going this way." I said, "Well, okay, I'm still here with you." And then his I think his fourth or fifth failure is when he said, "I can't do it anymore." And here's the crazy part. If he would have waited just to the day after, because the guy that he was trying to put a contract with ended up calling me to try to get a hold of him.
Damn.
And just like that, just because he didn't see it, he gave up. And so the guy, since I was his, the guy had me down as a point of contact. He was like, "Yeah, where's such and such?" I was like, "Oh, he it's not here." He goes, "Well, can you get a hold of him?" I was like, "There's no more getting a hold of him." So then that was the first time that it dawned to me that most people stop before um before before the doors actually do start to show you what you've been doing, right? And
Absolutely.
so that was a reminder. And then when I met Rob 3 days after that, we talked about something similar because me and Rob, we share similarity with losing children and things like that, and being an alcoholic and all of these different things. So we had a lot to talk about, being former bodybuilders, right? So I was pretty blessed and fortunate, but a lot of these young entrepreneurs that are coming into their own, with these great ideas. I wish there was like a manual to say this is what you're going to go through, right? I'm saying? So just be prepared, but don't give up. Even all of these different things. But yeah, I was always curious about that because although I didn't start dealing with imposter syndrome till my fifth year in, right? And the reason being because in the beginning it's so exciting, right? Especially when you see things moving and you're just like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter the many failures that you have. You just look at it like lessons learned,
Right.
and it was a beautiful thing. Uh, but then, of course, I I would approach situations and go, well, let's not work, and I'm gonna go over here. Next thing I know, I got 100 different things going on, and nothing's getting done. And I think that's when imposter syndrome showed up and said, "You're not good enough for this.
Yeah.
You need to stop exactly what you're doing right now before you make a more of a fool of yourself, Tony." And I I came that close, man, to either one doing one or two things or both of them. I was contemplating going back to drinking, right? And I'm a professional alcoholic, right? I'm a professional alcoholic. I haven't drank anything in almost 20 years, but I'm a professional alcoholic. I started drinking. I would sit around and drink in front of you, and you'll never even know that I've been doing it. That's how good I was,
Yeah.
or how bad I was, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying I got a high
Hey.
tolerance. I got a high, tolerance to it. But the second one was the way that I plotted. Um, the way that I plotted my own demise, right? And I think I don't want to say it out loud because you can get demonetized and things like
Right.
that depending on how you say it. But I think we both get the gist of what I'm saying. I plotted on mine for 2.5 months, and then finally I went, I'm doing it. So in a combination with having that thought and just pretty much saying I don't want to do it anymore because here I was homeless, right? Sleeping in my car until that got repossessed. And then I was staying with a friend of mine until him and his family got wiped out by COVID. So it was back and forth to the streets, and all of these different things. And nothing was working. And I was working overnights and, trying to make ends meet. And I would tell you, brother, um, I wouldn't change it for the world, but I definitely don't want to repeat it.
Well, let me ask you this. What was the light? How did you get yourself out of that mindset? What was that moment for you where you realized, I don't want to make those choices. I do want to continue and persevere.
You know, it was the thought of my son, my mom, my younger brother, my father, those that have gone, that I've already lost, and things, and divine intervention. Whatever people want to call it. I say it's the creator, right? Some people say God, some people say whatever it is. Whatever it is that gets you out of that. That's what happened for me. It was divine intervention. I drove out, I drove out to the middle of Utah, and I was determined. I said, you know what? This is my last weekend here. I don't want to do this anymore. I am tired. I'm not physically tired, but I'm mentally and spiritually tired. I'm tired of feeling like I'm fighting a war that I'm not winning. And I drove out there, and I drove out there because I was driving a trash truck at the time, and I got off work and I drove out. And I spent the weekend out there. And I said Friday I got out there, hotel room. Saturday I went fishing all day to say my goodbyes. Sunday, I checked out a hotel room, drove out to the middle of the desert, sat out there for a little bit, and just waited till the sun went down. And I'm talking to my family, telling them I'm sorry. Hopefully they can forgive me, but I can't do this anymore. I'm too tired, right? And I had the gun there, right? And when it got to a place to where all I can hear was the silence of my own thoughts, I said, "This is the time to do it." There's nothing else. I've already said everything I need to say, and I was 2 seconds away from pulling the trigger, and that voice came. That voice came and said, "No, before you do that, let's talk." And that voice showed me my life and showed me that nothing that I have ever gone through was about me, but it's preparing me for what I was going to do, right? And so the more and more I was like, well, what about this and what about this? That voice said, no, had you not gone through this, you would have been able to do this. And then finally I went, so like, why would you do this to me? Right? Why would you do this to me? That voice said, oh, you thought it was about you. I went, huh? No, you thought it was about you. See, you too busy being selfish and not thinking that none of these experiences had anything to do with you. It was the people that you were able to help after you went through them.
Yeah.
It was about them. It was about them. It was never about you. So finally, I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I can't beat this. So what am I supposed to do with it? And that voice said, come here, let me show you something. And that's when they directed me to the path. So that's what it was. It was a sequence of events that got me to where I am today.
That's
Right. It
amazing.
wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just one switch of a mindset and or
Right.
one way of thinking about it, or it was a multitude of things that led up to me getting to this point and then getting past that, right? And now every time I do it, I go back to that voice and I go, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I can really use some guidance. I can really use some, you know, I can use some validation, right? It doesn't have to be anything public. It's just something real simple that something give me something to hold on to, and it's never disappointed me. And I've been on this path, like I said, for 6 years, and I haven't strayed off. I mean, I strayed off one time because I was chasing a female, but then I learned that maybe I shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
Because I got my butt whipped on that one. Life was like, oh, get your butt back on over there, Tony,
Oh yeah.
right? And so it put me back into place and everything. And it just taught me patience and gratitude, and appreciation for everything. So yeah, that was my turning point right there. But like I said, it was a sequence of events because once I knew that this is what I was going to do, it wouldn't let me go. Right? You ever we hear people describe this, right? Um, and I'm pretty sure you're going to understand when I say this. But when I decided to do men's grief work, I knew wholeheartedly that this is what I wanted to do. And if I didn't do it, I knew I was going to be miserable for the rest of my life because of the way that it tugged on my heart,
Yes.
the way that it would not let me. I could not close my eyes without thinking about it. I mean, I would close my eyes trying to go to sleep, and I'm up every 30, 45 minutes, like, man, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know this is what I'm, and then, and it just kept going and going and going. And I argued with it for a long time. I went, I don't know if I want to do this. Right.
Yeah.
But then something would happen and I would go, why? I know I need to do this. I have to do this. Right. And it became a part of my everyday routine of thinking about it. And then one day I said, the worst thing that can happen is that I fail.
That's it.
That's the worst. You can't do nothing else to me. If that's the worst thing that can happen, that I fail, then I'm already homeless. I'm already at the bottom of the barrel. I can't go any further.
Yeah.
So it's
No.
either I do this or I stay here. I had no other option.
Yeah. And I think that's a message that every entrepreneur needs to hear. And you know, and it might scare them, it might not, but I think every entrepreneur needs to hear you're going to fail.
You're
It's going
going
to
to.
happen.
Yeah.
You're going to be told no. You're going to be told you can't do this. Nope, not going to happen.
Hmm.
But they need to know you're going to fail. But how bad do you want it? Because for
Mm.
me, that's the biggest. How bad do I want this? What am I willing to do to make this happen? Am I willing to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go Uber for 3 hours and then go to the office for 6 hours and get my work done and do the things and chase the leads and try to get
Hmm.
customers and then go Uber again for a couple hours in the afternoon and then go home about 7 o'clock at night and then do it all again the next day? Absolutely. That's what I'm going to do if I have to do it. No matter what I
Yeah.
have to do, I'm going to make this work. So I think that's a message that every entrepreneur needs to hear is you're going to fail. You're going to have setbacks and you're going to have
Hmm.
days where you're thinking, screw this. But how bad do
Hmm.
you want it? And what are you willing to do to get it?
Mm. See, and you have to have who was it that said it? A lot of them said it. Mel Robbins, Les Brown, Eric Thomas, Inky Johnson, and the list goes on and on. Tony Robbins, Sam Sinecki, Gary Vanderchuk, all these individuals. They said when you coming into this, you have to have a dog mentality. And it's not the mentality that you may think it is, right? Or most people may think it is. They're like, oh, a dog, I have a dog in me. And it was like, no, you have to understand the things that dogs do are very repetitive. Are you willing to be, are you willing to be that guy that repeats everything over and over and over and over again? You know what I'm saying? Because you know that it's going to work, but you
Yeah,
know that it's going to take a little bit. And the only thing that you're doing is retweaking things as you keep doing it. It's repetitive. The routine that you have is very repetitive. The mindset that you have is very repetitive because you said something. You was like, am I willing to do the 3 hours doing Uber and then going to do 6 hours over here and then get done with that and going back out here and doing this? Are you willing to have the nose? Are you willing to chase those leads? Are you willing to make those phone calls? Are you willing to walk in people's house offices and look them in the eyes and go, I'm Allan, and this is what I do?
yeah,
Even after all of that, with the confidence of knowing that this could be your yes, this
that's
could
it.
be that opportunity, right? But you have to have a dog in you. You have to have that no quit mentality. No matter if life beats me, I'm loyal to the process.
That's it.
And there was another thing that a lot of people get twisted up on. People tend to let the process change them in a very negative way, right? You know what I'm saying? Because they begin to think, I did this, I know everybody else can. No, not everybody else can do that.
No.
And so they begin to develop this really cocky attitude, and then they got to get humbled again because they forgot the first time that they got humbled and they cried like a little girl, like a little baby. I'm not gonna say little girl because
No.
I don't want no girl to look at me like, what? You no, 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 I'm not talking. they may have just cried like a little baby. They cried at my family. They cried like a little baby, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because like spanked them, like spanked that little butt,
Yep.
and sent them on their way. But and then most people quit because of the sheer exhaustion of doing the work. Right? It's a lot to go along with that. Now, before we wrap up, I want to ask, when people sign up with you, Alan, what can they expect to get from the services that you provide?
So the very first thing when a potential customer calls me up and says, "Hey, I saw your ad, whatever. I'd like you to come in and let's talk about it." I always do a free consultation, and that consists of me going through their workplace, doing an audit, just walking around, talking to some people, and then I go through their safety manuals and their policies, their procedures, to see what kind of safety program they have, because they might have a fantastic safety program and we just need to tweak a few things over here, over there, or get everybody on board, whatever the case is. And then once
Hmm.
I get all that information, I put together a report, and then I sit down with whoever it is, the CEO, the project manager, whoever, and I go through all my findings. And then on top of that, don't just tell them what's wrong. Here's the corrective action. Here's what it's going to take to get you from here to here.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then we go from there. And then hopefully they bring me on to help them execute that plan.
Okay. I love that. I love that. Now, uh, I got a couple more questions for you. First, I want to say thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and your journey with us as well. You
Absolutely.
know, how can people find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. Um, I forgot the other one, TikTok. Also, I have a website, and anybody can email me. So yeah, all of those. I don't know how I get that to you, but
Yeah. Did you already send over your info for the show today?
yes.
Okay, so if you included it in there, I'll put that up there so people can come
Okay.
back in and they'll be able to get your info from off of there. So now, if as long as I got it, I'll go in and do all of that stuff for us. Now, my second question would be, if Alan had a superpower, what would it be?
If I had a superpower, it would be to not have a care in the world. I look at some of these. There was a guy I talked about this Chamber of Commerce thing, and he was an ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce. Um, and he didn't work with the Chamber of Commerce, but he's an ambassador for them for networking. And
Hmm.
this guy is, I mean, he was talking to everybody. This guy knew everybody. And this
Hmm.
guy didn't have a care in the world what anybody was thinking about him. And that's how I want to be. I want to walk in a room and not have a single care in the world of what anybody thinks.
I like that. I love that mentality. I love that thought and that mentality right there, right? Because in a lot of ways, I think I'm the same person. Although I'm an introvert, but you put me around a certain crowd, and I walk into I don't care who's up in there. I'm gonna talk to everybody. We're gonna make some. Well, I'm gonna meet you. We gonna exchange numbers and everything. Like, and then afterwards, I'm like, okay, I can need to disappear. I'm gonna go on about my way, right?
Yep.
Because I may or may not see you again. So I want to make sure that whatever I'm giving you, I'm letting you know that this is who I am. I am my authentic self. So take it or leave it, and I go on about my way.
Yeah.
Um,
See, that's not me. I have to build myself up and I have to force
mm,
myself to go to these events. I have to force myself to go up to people because I'm not, I'm my only bad habit is I smoke cigars once a week, something like that. But I go to cigar lounge and
yeah.
I promise you the perfect day for me at a cigar lounge when I'm sitting there for 3 hours smoking a cigar and not talking to a single person.
Hmm.
For me, that's beautiful. So
Yeah.
I am naturally an introvert. So for me to go to these networking events, it's a it's painful for me. But I make myself do it because I know it's something I have to do. So
Yep.
I do look at
Exactly.
these individuals. I can just go to anybody and spark up a conversation and look like they're having the time of their life, I'm thinking that that's the superpower I want.
I love that. I love that. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one out. And I want to say, Alan, thank you again. So hopefully we can do this again. And and even do so much more after this as well. Like I said, I have a lot of things going on. So um, now, I guess my next thing would be, you know, when can we do this again?
You tell me, Tony. I'm here for you. So whenever you want me on, let me know. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to know you over the last few days, talking to you, and then doing this today and learning more about you is just it's phenomenal. And again, these are the people I'm talking about. Having these surrounding
Hmm.
yourself with like-minded people who just have such an amazing outlook, an amazing story, and just that you know that grit just to keep going.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. And with that being said, guys, you guys know what it is. This is the this Tony mentioned this, the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. The information is going across there across the bottom, right? You know what I'm saying? We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. You guys know what it is. Go check out the graphic novel, The Adventures of Grief Guy. That's also up on YouTube. I'm turning into a narrated version of it. So you guys go there, check out the songs, etc. Go check out the magazine, Grief Talk Magazine, where we fill everything with articles and resources, events, as well as other people that you need to know and connect with. If you're looking for support, we got it for you. And with that being said, guys, thank my guest, Alan, for being on the show today. And you guys are going to see him again. Big shout out to Rob Kelly for introducing these amazing people to me. And go check out him. He does recovery. And he's no nonsense now. You know what I'm saying? He may or may not take you on as a client because the man is busy. But if he don't, don't take it personally. I'm pretty sure he'll hook you up with somebody who can, right? But just surround yourself with the best of the best, and be a part of that conversation. And with that being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. We got more coming for you, and as always, if you're not doing it, make sure you're going out there creating good memories with the people that you love, and make sure that you tell them that you love them, because tomorrow isn't promised to you. And with that being said, guys, I am Tony Lynch. I love you. We're going to see you guys in the next one. And have an amazing day. All right. Peace. Thank you again, Alan.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Pleasure.